What do you do when kids hug you? Yeah, I had a lot of itty bitties this week. When I say itty bitties, itty bitties is a nickname for kids that are like 6 and under. And I think my youngest right now, I think is like 3, and then I have quite a few 4-year-olds, and they're hilarious. 4-year-olds are like the best age ever. And then I think I had some 5-year-olds. But anyway, so it's really funny. Every doctor is different. So most pediatricians are super huggy and tactile. So they're like giving high fives and hugs and all this kind of stuff. Again, I trained as a pediatrician, and so depending on where I am in the medical world, sometimes I'll do that. As a psychiatrist, most times I just um, I I don't do high fives and hugs, and I don't really touch people because I want to give them their own space. But kids are really interesting, and so kids will come in, and it's not very common that a kiddo will meet me for the first time. And when I say kiddo, again, the itty bitties, the 4 and the 5-year olds. Most times they have appropriate stranger danger, which is what they're supposed to have, meaning they can be very standoffish. Some of the kiddos can be really, really shy, and that is all appropriate because they don't know you, and that it doesn't mean that they're being abused. It doesn't mean that they're being hurt. There's an appropriate level of hesitation. The good thing is all psychiatrists, all pediatricians are trained to work with kids, and they know this going into that whole experience. And so if a kiddo is like clinging to mom and doesn't want to let go, or clinging to dad and doesn't want to let go, we just roll with the punches. And if we do our jobs correctly, we build what is called rapport. So RAPPORT. I think it's a French term I'm guessing for connection, but y'all can look it up. That's why you have Google. Anyway, and so if we build a really good connection with the kid, they will kind of start to what we call warm. They will warm to you. And so they'll start talking to you. They'll start, hey, I want to color, or hey, where are your toys? Or are you going to give me a sucker? Or are you going to give me a shot? And they'll start talking to you. And through that rapport, you can learn about the kid. You can diagnose. You can treat. You can do all sorts of things, but just by building that connection with the kid. And it all depends on the kid as to whether they are going to kind of spontaneously hug you or not. Most times, it's very rare that I ever ask for a hug unless something is going on, like if someone is sick, or if they've lost a loved one, or they're feeling really bad or something. That would be the only time I would ask. But I mean, that's super, super rare. I prefer to empower the kid to own their own body and do whatever they want to with that. But yeah, so it's really funny when they spontaneously like run up to you and like either grab you by the leg or try to hug you, or they'll ask you, hey, can I have a hug? And of course you can't say no. I think that's inhumane. But yeah, and you give a hug, and the key to all of this is you make them feel very, very empowered. Kids are amazingly intelligent about who they are and what they want, and so you don't really have to second guess them. You don't have to lecture them when it comes to this kind of stuff. And as long as they feel comfortable with you, parents are around, high fives and hugs and all that kind of stuff is really, really awesome. There are certain instances where if a kid hugs you too fast, that's a sign for you to look into deeper. So in other words, if a kiddo you've never met ever runs up and gives you a hug, and you're like, wait a minute, you don't know me from anybody. Well, that's something to explore with the parents, or with the whoever the caregivers are. Again, some kids are just super expressive because they come from super expressive parents, but it warrants looking into, just because it's good information to know, so that you can make sure that you can advise the parents correctly. Because if they're running up and doing that with you, well, you don't want them to run up and do that with some other random person that's in the store, or in the neighborhood, that sort of thing. And so, but yeah, so the context is what matters. So the age matters. So a 4-year-old is very different than a 6-year-old. And their warmness level is going to be different. So, and then situation is going to be different. So if for kiddos who are adopted, kiddos of divorce, kiddos who are ill or sick, kiddos kiddos who are ADHD and all over the place. Like each child is their own little thing, and so if you get a hug or don't get a hug, keep it all in context, and just know that your kid's gonna be all right if they hug or don't hug. There's no necessarily bigger picture to that. It's just I got a hug this week and I thought it was really funny, and like he like hung on to my arm, like I had to walk with him as he was hanging on to me, and I was like, ah, kids, so fun.